Welcome back to ICRS 2015. I want to tell you that we are finally on the last interview. I'm still giving the energy, still giving the good fight, the faith, and we're finally here. We have Miss Deb Dearmound. How are you?
I'm good to see you, David.
And this was an unexpected but a very pleasurable gift the Lord gave to us
yes, it
today.
was.
And she's here to talk. I'm going to let her give you the title. Here to talk about her new book.
I Choose You Today, 31 Choices to Make Love Last.
Amen. It's a book on marriage, or?
It is. It's a book on marriage. When marriage works, it's work.
You're going to have sweat like I'm having here in Orlando.
It's good. You're going to break a sweat. You absolutely will.
If you're not willing to work, then you shouldn't be getting married.
Well, and I think when we say I do at the altar, we're not even really sure what we're saying I do too. I was 19, David. We'll celebrate 40 years together. 40th anniversary next month.
So you're 19 years old?
I was 19. We both were.
My wife was 19 and I was 23.
Okay, we were both 19.
Wow.
We were high school sweethearts. That doesn't usually work out that well.
What state?
California.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not the South. And there were a lot of people who thought we were making a terrible mistake, David.
Yeah.
That it was too young, that we hadn't finished school, make the long list. Neither of our parents raised an eyebrow, and that to me was significant. And I remember saying to my mother years later, you never tried to convince us to wait. And she said to me, well, Deb, she said, I know you. You're not an easy person. And if the two of you ever had a disagreement or argument, we weren't aware of it. So I figured you better marry this one. There might not be another one to take you. And I thought, gee, Mom, I don't think that was a compliment. But my husband, for years, has said the words, I choose you. Mm-hmm. It started, I don't know, maybe we'd been married 5 years when it began. And making the bed one morning, he looked across the coverlet and said, I choose you today, babe. And I said, what did you choose me for? He said, I just choose you. And that continued.
Oh, man.
And I asked him after a while, well, what are you choosing me for? He goes, I choose to be patient with you on days that it's not easy. I choose to support your goals and your dreams. And so I began returning the favor.
Did you ask him, what book are you reading?
No, I didn't. I really didn't. And it's been a 35-year habit, and I picked it up as well. And 2 years ago, we were on the beach in California with our entire family on vacation. We arranged to have family photographs made, and each of my sons and their families took their turn, and then it was my husband's turn along with me. And the photographer positioned us, and when I turned and looked at him, David, he was sinking into the sand. I thought, oh, he's having a heart attack. And he looked at me and said, it's been 38 years, babe. He said, if you knew then what you know now, would you have still chosen me all those years ago? David, I know what all those words mean individually, but I couldn't understand what he was asking me. And so I looked, and all the kids are clapping and cheering, and apparently they'd all been in on it. And he pulls a ring box out of his pocket, and he said, would you still choose me again today? And I said, yeah. And so later I said, where did you get that idea? And we had been speaking to a young marrieds group in Michigan, and the last hour is always ask Ron and Deb anything. And I mean, David, they ask you lots of scary stuff.
Yeah.
And they asked about how he proposed, and we laughed and said, well, we knew early on that we were supposed to get married, so we just started making wedding plans. And that was the year before this beach trip. And he said, every girl should have a proposal story, and I wanted you to have one, even if it's a little bit late.
Oh, that's awesome.
I blogged about it, and people started asking us.
You put them like in a bottle.
You do. I mean, people started asking us, well, what do you choose? I blogged about it. It seemed to click with people. We choose patience. We choose to serve one another. We choose to forgive one another. We choose to love one another. You know, the word is full. In James it says, a word out of your mouth may seem of no account, but it has the ability to accomplish anything or destroy it. Mm-hmm. Proverbs says that life and death is in the power of the tongue. What words matter? And when you think about how sometimes we exchange hurtful words and we don't exchange nearly enough supportive, positive, building up words, the concept of I choose you made a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, the day we stood at the altar and I wore the long white dress and he wore the yellow tuxedo, it was 1975. It seemed like such a good idea at the time, David. We didn't know what we were really signing up for. So it's been a really interesting journey. The book is filled with
Are these personal
choices.
stories?
Some of them are personal,
Okay.
but we had so many people who were so generous to share their stories with us.
Okay.
The ones where there was a lesson to be learned, the ones where there were great examples to be taken. But the very first one is I choose to make God's Word the blueprint for our lives together. Once that's established, life gets easier, David. Then it's not about your idea, my idea. It's what does the Word say about this? Because sometimes it's hard to bring the ends together.
It is.
Until you get God to weigh in on it. And that's huge. From there, I choose to be patient with you. I'm not a very patient person, and he has to be patient with me too, and so that's an important choice. There's some choices like I choose to serve you. You know, we live in a time when you can do drive-through donuts and dry cleaning. They serve us in our car.
Yep, that's true.
And so we've become such a consumer world. Well, in a relationship, there's got to be servanthood back and forth. It's what God expects of us. And sometimes it may be something small, and sometimes it may be sacrificial. In order to serve your goal, I have to set mine aside for the moment. I choose to comfort you. When my mother was dying and terribly ill, he stepped up and worked right along with me in that entire time. He was as much her caregiver as I was.
Wow.
That was better than any bouquet or fancy dinner out, because it said, I not only love your mother, I really love you. I don't want you to have to do this alone. So it's been a real joy to see what the Lord has been doing with this book. Couples are reading it together. There are 31 short chapters that could be done easily in the morning or in the evening as a devotional, but I don't want people to read from 1 to 31. I want them to pick the one that may be their challenge in the moment. At the end of every chapter, there is a set of discussion questions, because I think couples don't talk about this stuff enough.
Yeah.
And it gets that conversation started. Think about the things in your own life where
You're making me think right now.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? My favorite new Amazon review is a 3-star out of a 5. It's not a 5. And it was from a woman who bought the book based on the title, didn't know it was a Christian book, faith-based. And the title of her review is a 3-star out of 5, which is okay, but it's not the one you're looking for until I read it. And it said, the title of it was, so this gave me a few things to think about. And she talked about having gotten the book the day that her husband came home from work and laid divorce papers on the kitchen counter. Totally stunned her.
Oh my.
And she said, I began looking through this book, and she said, the religion didn't bother me as much as I thought it would, which I thought was funny.
Is that why you got the only, that's why 2 of your stars?
Yes, that took 2 of the stars right there. But she said, it made me realize that there were a lot of things that I had let simply go. I let slide. And that the disenchantment that had come in our marriage was largely because I got busy with other things and didn't take care of the relationship.
Wow.
She said, so we've talked it through. He's willing to give me some time, and we'll see what happens. So someone who's not a believer
That's
found
so simple
accuracy.
and just a simple read.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So it is available now on the market?
It is. You can find it at all the likely places, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, ChristianBooks.com, and in your favorite bookseller, Barnes & Noble carries
Who's the
it.
publisher on that?
Abingdon Press.
Abingdon Press.
Abingdon Press.
Oh, wow. And then that's something that each person can just take in a day, just a little bit a day?
Well, I think that couples ought to take the ones that they need to work on, maybe.
Yeah. So it's not
and
set up.
spend some time soaking,
Okay.
not one a day.
So it's not set up where you have to read
No,
each page?
no, they're all standalone under the
Okay.
same theme.
All right.
And someone said to me recently, would it make a good Bible study? We've got lots of women's groups and couples groups using it for Bible study. And someone even said, well, what if you're the only partner that's interested in reading it?
Then you got a problem.
Well, it still works.
Yeah, it still
because
works.
the word still works.
Well, the thing is, if you can start changing yourself, they're going to notice something.
That's exactly
And
the point.
they're going to want to say, okay, what's going on?
That's exactly the point, David.
What are some things in your own book, 31 there, that you still struggle with?
Patience is still not easy for me.
Hey, you're a patient. You waited for me for like an
I know,
hour.
but that's different, you know.
You don't live with me, so it's
Well,
different.
that's the point.
Yeah.
It's easier to be patient with people in the rest of our world than the people that are closest to us.
It is
because
true.
We think that they'll just understand.
Yeah.
I, as a person raised like an only child, service is always a commitment that I have to re-up for on a regular basis. And to believe it or not, my husband's the romantic, I'm the practical one. So taking the time to make sure that I'm romancing him and pursuing him, as it says in Genesis. Those are things that I've had to learn, and I've taken a lot of my.
The same thing with me and my wife.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You're the romantic heart?
I'm the Casanova.
You're the Casanova. And she's a recipient of all of that.
Yeah.
But it's not natural for,
it's not
for the
natural.
return.
And,
Do you know, I think one of the lines in the book that people have noticed very often is that you're pretty irresistible to your spouse when you're pursuing them.
Okay.
And so you really reach their
that's
heart.
good. That's good.
You really reach their heart when you pursue them. Their heart, their soul, their mind, their ideas. You know, Ron asked me after we'd been married probably 10 years, he said, "Did you ever wonder what drew me to you?" I said, "I never thought about it." He said, "You were interested in what I thought, what I was interested in. You wanted to know what I had to say." And he grew up in a family where if you had an opinion, David, it was best just to stay off the radar.
Oh, wow.
And so for him to have someone say, "So what do you think about that? And tell me what your thoughts are about this." That to him, he said, was absolutely irresistible. Who knew? We're all different.
Yeah.
We're all different. But to him, yeah, being pursued and when I romance him, that's a big deal.
I bet. Let everybody know how they can get your book.
You can find it at all of the likely outlets, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, ChristianBooks.com, and at your favorite bookseller. And you can also find it at my website, Deb Dearmound.com, DebDearmond.com. We cover marriage and family and all the joys and challenges
And your
that go along
blog,
with
they
that.
can find your blog there as well?
My blog is on my website as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
David,
stopping
thank
by.
you. It's so good to see
I'm going
you.
to hold you to get me a copy.
You'll get it, I promise.
All right. Well, you know what? This is David Yannis signing off for the ICERS 2015. God bless you. Thanks again, darling.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next year in Cincinnati.